Hey, what is going on, everybody? It's Max here from the Mama's Legacy Podcast, and I'm joining here with Adam from Sports Talk. How you doing, man?
Hey, how's it going, man?
I'm doing pretty good myself. Before we get into this, why don't you shout your stuff out? And remember, guys, links to his stuff will be in the description.
You can find me on my own podcast. The podcast name is Sports Talk with Adam Holst. It's on all the audio platforms, Spotify, Google, Apple, all the big audio ones. And then you can also check out my Twitter. I have all my information about everything I'm up to on my Twitter account at Adam Holst Sports on Twitter.
Definitely, definitely. Remember, guys, go check him out. And again, links will be in the description down below. But let's jump right into it. Last night, Thursday night football, we had Washington and New York, and you being a Cowboys fan probably didn't care too much about this game. But what did you, before we jump into like the specifics, what did you really take away from this game?
I mean, first things first, I think that there was a lot more points scored than most people expected there to be scored in that game. It was one of the lower over-unders of the week. I think they beat the total by like 20 points almost. So more of an offensive game. I think most people like myself were expecting a defensive battle. Both quarterbacks played pretty well. Daniel Jones, that might have been the best start of his career, throwing the ball and running the ball. Really good game for Jones. Heineke looked competent in his third start. McLaurin was an absolute beast in that game. And I mean the ending of that game was just wild and crazy between the drop touchdown pass by Slayton and then the 2-yard the 2-throw touchdown drive by Heineke, the missed field goal, the offside, the re-kick. Like the last couple minutes of that game were just wild.
Yeah, I mean, I'm actually going to go against you here, and I think that this game kind of showed Daniel Jones isn't the answer. And
Oh, I
before
mean,
we
I'm
get
not a Daniel Jones believer at all, but I think this was one of the better, if not the best games of his career, whatever that means.
Well, yes, it was one of his better games, but this kind of showed me that even on his best nights, he's getting outperformed by Taylor Heineke, who's been cut by like 4 to 6 teams throughout his career.
It's a great
And
point.
if you're gonna play one of the better games of your career and still lose to a second on a lot of teams, maybe even third string quarterback, it's kind of a big shocker. Uh, and it kind of also showed me that Saquon's not Saquon, and I'm not sure if we're going to see Saquon be Saquon this year. I mean, Daniel Jones ran the ball better than Saquon did. I mean, Antonio Gibson ran the ball better than Saquon did. He had the same amount of carries and had about 10 more yards than him. Saquon Barkley looked a step slow. I mean, I'm not sure if you saw the clip or not, but Chase Young was running step for step with him when he had that the
Yeah,
longest run of his night. It
yeah.
kind of, for me, showed, hey, Saquon's not Saquon right now, and I'm really concerned about that because not a big Giants fan, but I do like Saquon Barkley. I was really high on him coming out the draft. I do believe that McKissick had a pretty good game receiving. McLaurin also went off. Logan Thomas showed that he's a capable tight end. I don't think he played his best game, but he played pretty damn well. Sterling Shepard, I think, still showed that he's a stud. And if you get Sterling Shepard, a good quarterback, I think he could be easily a 1,500 yard receiver, 1,000 yard receiver. I think that's kind of for sure. I mean, we've seen him doing it with not the greatest quarterback of all time. But before we jump into the specifics here, Daniel Jones attempted less passes than Heineke completed. Is that a big shocker?
That's a little bit of a surprising stat. But, like a lot of the damage that Jones did in that game was with his legs, and his throwing line would have looked a little bit better if Slayton didn't drop that touchdown at the end. That definitely would have helped put a punctuation mark on his performance.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think it would have, helped them out a bit more. But even then, you take away that play if they get it, they win the game, obviously. But
Yeah, they win.
I'm not sure you walk away too happy with the performance of the whole team. The defense, I mean, you shouldn't be letting Washington put 30 points on you any given night. Washington should be winning games in a close 14, 21 point game. You don't want to ever see Washington with 30 points up on the board. That's kind of a big uh-oh. You don't want
Right.
that happening. But the one thing I will say for me, so rumors had it that Washington, if Heineke did not play well, that they'd be in the quarterback market, and everybody was kind of pointing towards Cam Newton. But for me, this game kind of showed that hey, I think Washington can run with Heineke, and we saw a bit of Heineke last year against Tom Brady, going toe to toe with him in the playoffs. Had an amazing game, and he seems to have kind of carried it over. I mean, granted, he didn't play a perfect game, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. He threw 34 of 46, which wasn't bad. 336 yards, nearly 100 more yards than Daniel Jones, who was drafted so high, and New York fans were so high on. Are you confident in Heineke being the Washington quarterback the rest of the season?
I think a big thing that Heineke did in this game is after that interception, right? That could have been a game losing interception. He recovered himself, he got himself together, and then he put together that game winning drive after he threw that interception that could have possibly lost it. That shows that he has some mental toughness, and I like that about Heineke. I mean, I don't know if you're someone who believes in the eye test. Some people believe in the eye test, some don't. But like for me, like when I watch Heineke play in these few games that he's played, he kind of looks the part. He kind of looks like he can hang as an NFL quarterback. And like you said, in the playoff game, he held his own against Brady. They lost the game, but he didn't look out of place in that game. And he's only had 3 starts now in his career. So you have to think with some more experience, he could improve. And, his athleticism is definitely something that's going to help him as well. And I think they should stick with Heineke. I think he has a chance to be something decent.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I don't think there's better options out there. I mean, you can make the argument that Cam Newton's better right now, but at the same time, Cam Newton just lost his starting job to Mac Jones, and Bill
Right.
Belichick has never started a rookie QB since he's been in New England. So that kind of says a lot right there. Read some rumors that Cam Newton was actually asking Mac Jones help remembering the playbook, which is a big red flag for me. And if
Right.
Ron Rivera, who was his head coach when he had that MVP caliber season, saying, "I don't want him over here," it's a big red flag right there, and that's kind of showing me that hey, maybe Cam Newton is done in this league.
Right.
But I mean, with quarterbacks being done, still sticking on this game, Daniel Jones, is this a make or break year for him? And does New York cut their losses if he doesn't perform this season?
I think it is. I think this is a make or break season for Daniel Jones. And in that same breath, it's a make or break season for Dave Gettleman at GM. He's the one who took Jones. He took him very high in that draft, a lot higher than most people thought he would be selected. Jones was his guy. He believed in Jones. So if Jones fails this year, I think Gettleman goes with him. I mean, the big thing for Jones is obviously the turnovers. That's something that he has to clean up this year. I mean, you can't be a starting quarterback and turn it over as much as Daniel Jones did. In 29 games so far in his career, he's turned the ball over 40 times in 29 games. Unacceptable for a starting quarterback. It's okay to turn it over when you're a rookie, a young quarterback. This is year 3 now. If he doesn't clean it up this year, that's a big problem.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I believe if he's out, Gettleman follows him, vice versa, obviously.
Right.
Daniel Jones has fumbled the ball about as many times as he's had career starts, which
Yeah.
is it's
Insane.
I think he's got more fumbles than he has interceptions, and that kind of shocked me a little bit because I've seen him throw picks tons of times.
Right.
But Daniel Jones, I hope that he can turn this around this season. I hope that he can become a good quarterback. He seems like a good kid. He's trying his hardest out there, but at the same time, it might not just be it might just not be for him being quarterback, a starting quarterback in the NFL. At least not with the Giants. The Giants have one of the worst offenses to kind of be thrown into, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not. I don't think he's done in the NFL if he doesn't make it this year, but I do believe that he's gonna have to do what Jameis did if he wants a starting job in this league again.
Take a significant cut, yeah. And you mentioned Saquon Barkley before. I don't think anyone in the world wants Saquon to be right now more than Daniel Jones does, because Saquon can be his best friend. It can really help him this year if he can get old Saquon and not injured, still recovering Saquon.
Yeah, no, if Saquon came back 100% next game, I would still say, hey, the Giants have a chance to win the game.
Sure.
Saquon Barkley, he takes a ton of pressure off Daniel Jones because they can't have 6 cornerbacks out there with healthy Saquon on the field. They need extra linebackers in there to make sure he doesn't get open and free. No cornerback in the NFL is really going to tackle a healthy Saquon.
Right.
He does his part. Daniel Jones, he has Shepard. He has some targets there. I think Ingram. He's kind of fallen off the map. He was a very high prospect for a lot of people, especially Giants
Mm-hmm.
fans, were really happy for him. But he has
Mm-hmm.
not performed to what I think everybody in the NFL fan base has kind of thought that he could.
And
But
he's been hurt too. He's been hurt too, and he has a drop problem for sure.
the Giants are unfortunately on like the worst end of injuries derailing players' careers at the moment right now.
Yeah.
But speaking of injuries, and I know you're a Cowboy fan, so I think you're going to appreciate this. Dak Prescott, sadly, he was injured last year,
Yeah.
very early on. But in those first 4 weeks of last year, he looked like an MVP. I think
Sure
everybody
did.
saw that. He led the
Sure
league in
did.
passing yards, ran laps around everybody else, and then unfortunately he went down. But now he's back, went toe to toe with Tom Brady, the greatest quarterback of all time, and they probably should have won that game. But at the end of the day, held his own against the Tom Brady.
Mhm.
How confident are you that last year wasn't an anomaly?
Well, I mean, yeah, last year that scorching hot pace was ridiculous. He was actually on pace to throw for over 6,000 yards last year before he got hurt. I mean, he obviously probably wouldn't have kept that pace for a full 16 games, but that's just, kind of demonstrating how hot of a start he really was off to. When you look at Dak year after year, he has improved on a year to year basis. He's done a lot to improve his game. For me, a lot of what I think it is with Dak that he just needs to take that next step that he's looking for has been the mental game. Like I watch every single play of every single Cowboys game as a huge Cowboys fan. And a lot of times, just in those crucial moments late in the game, rather than elevating like a guy like Tom Brady, like you said, like the great quarterbacks, they elevate their game in those clutch moments. Those clutch moments have been where Dak has kind of made his mistakes. Now, I don't think it's too late to change that. He is still young. I think that in this week one game against the Bucks, he looked phenomenal. Like absolutely phenomenal. I was worried to see how the injury, if anything, was lingering, if it was going to affect him. More importantly than the physical stuff, maybe, is the mental stuff. He went out there, he looked confident, he looked ready to go. He took hits. He didn't look like he was flinching or anything like that, worried about the shoulder or the ankle. I think he's locked in right now. I personally think that contract that they gave him over the offseason is going to help him get a huge confidence boost for himself. A little bit of pressure taken off of him now that he has gotten that payday. I think he can relax a little bit, and I'm expecting big things from Dak Prescott this year.
I also am expecting big things from him when you throw for 400 yards against the Bucks defense, which
Right.
is one of the best, if not the best defense in the NFL. 400 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interceptions, and completing 72% of his passes. I think the league should be on notice with Dak Prescott. They should be worried when they see the Cowboys coming up on their schedule. Which, to be fair, the past couple of years I have not been too worried. Seeing teams I like go against the Cowboys because
Sure.
terrible defenses, injuries. The Cowboys have kind of been a train wreck, a roller coaster of emotions for the Cowboys fans. Sometimes you look like the third best team in the league to the first, and then sometimes you look like you don't even compete with the Redskins with Heineke.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
Oh, I know.
this year, though, the Cowboys should be excited. The only thing I can say, are you worried about Elliott? Elliott's the big thing. Everybody's wondering, hey, has Elliott hit that cliff? Is Elliott done? What do you think Ezekiel Elliott's career is at right now?
Look, I mean, it hurts me a little bit to say this because I do love Ezekiel Elliott, but by saying it, I'm not, like I'm taking it too negatively. But I think that the absolute like peak prime, like best version of Zeke may be behind him. I mean, we know how short the running back lifespan is in the NFL. So his very best performances could already be in the past, his peak version of himself. But that's not to say that he can't still be a highly productive and very good running back in this league. He has all the skills, he has the talent to still do so. What I think the Cowboys need to do a little bit more is use him a little more in the passing game. Look, they've obviously shown that they want to throw the ball a ton with Dak Prescott this year, as they should. And Zeke, I mean, in his younger days and even in college, he was an incredible receiver. He's great coming out of the backfield and catching passes. I think that's one thing that the Cowboys, in all of Zeke's time, have not done enough of at time is include him in that passing game. That I think would help maybe get him going a little bit too, maybe get his confidence back up after a not so good 2020. And he was almost irrelevant in that Bucks game. So I think they need to find ways to get him the ball, get his confidence back up. Maybe the passing game is the way to do that. The passing game can open up the running game. And though I think that peak Zeke may be a thing of the past, I hope I'm wrong about that. I hope there's still more peak Zeke to come. But even if it is gone, Zeke can still be a very good running back.
I know that Zeke could be a great running back. We saw him take the league by storm in 2016. I believe that was his rookie year. 1,600 rush yards coming right into the league. Everybody thought this guy, oh, he's going to be. He looked great. He looked like the best running
Mm-hmm.
back in the league at points. But then it really disappointed me. You can't average 3 yards a carry. You can't do
Mm-hmm.
that in the first game of the year. You got to come out, look hungry. I know, again, it was the Bucks defense, which is why I'm not looking too deep into it. But at the same time, 3 yards average is kind of disappointing to see as running back. But to be fair, a bunch of other running backs did not play their best, including Henry. Henry did not play his best. So, I think I'm going to hope it's a slow start. I want Elliott to keep getting better. But a part of me does also believe that his best days are behind him. I think that I don't think he's going to be with the Cowboys for terribly too much longer. Unfortunately, I do want to see him get involved more in the passing game. He got 2 passes last game. Then again, he only got 6 yards out of it, but he definitely can. I still think he can be an efficient running back if they utilize him the right way. The Cowboys' offensive line has only been getting older and older. Collins is missing the first 5 games this year due to suspension. The Cowboys' O-line, if it can come back, play healthy, I think Elliott's going to thrive, but I also believe that that was a big reason for his big numbers earlier on in his career. And as the line's gotten worse, his numbers have gotten worse. But to be fair, that's every running back's numbers. You kind of how good the offensive line's playing is how good your running back's going to be. You can put a mediocre running back behind a great offensive line; they will look like a prime DeMarco Murray. So
I agree.
that's my kind of take on it. I think that Elliott still can be great, and I hope the Cowboys can regain control of their season.
I sure hope they can. I definitely think that they can compete in the NFC East for sure. I have even higher expectations of them than that. If their offense can keep playing the way it played against the Bucks, and the defense, I expect the defense to get better as the year goes on. I think hiring Dan Quinn in the offseason to take over as defensive coordinator was a huge addition for this team. Hopefully, once they're all comfortable in his system. 2 years ago, the Cowboys were actually a top 10 defense statistically. Some people forget that because of how awful they were last year. Hoping Dan Quinn can kind of get them back there, at least in the top half of the league. Top 10 would be awesome. And again, like this offense is electric. I think that they can be a top 5 offense. They could potentially even be the number 1 offense this year with the way they played in that first game. CeeDee Lamb being the huge factor too. In 6 games that CeeDee Lamb has played, that Dak Prescott started, he's caught at least 5 receptions in all 6 of those games. He has 3 100-yard games and his only multi-touchdown game of his career. So that Dak-CeeDee Lamb connection could be something special.
I mean, that Amari Cooper connection was also looking very special.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, he's got tons of weapons around him right now, and that's why I'm very high on Dak. I believe if any quarterback, I believe Dak Prescott could be the first quarterback to break 5,000 yards this year. I think
so too, and I think if Dak keeps playing the way he did in Week 1, he could win the MVP this year.
Ooh, that's a hot take. I like that. I agree with that. So, but this is going to wrap up this episode of Mamba's Legacy. Huge shout out again. Plug yourself one more time. And again, guys, links will be in the description.
Adam Holst, my podcast is called Sports Talk with Adam Holst. It's on all the audio platforms. Make sure you follow me on Twitter as well. The handle is at Adam Holst Sports.
Yep, and we will be with you guys later this weekend. Remember, guys, like this video, subscribe, and again, huge thanks for you coming on, man.
Thanks for having me. I really enjoyed it.
Hey, appreciate you.